الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. قال الإمام مسلم رحمه الله في كتاب الإيمان في باب the prohibition of killing oneself. قال عن ثابت بن الضحاك قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: من حلف بملة سوى الإسلام كاذبا متعمدا فهو كما قال، ومن قتل نفسه بشيء عذبه الله به في نار جهنم. في رواية شعبة أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من حلف بملة سوى الإسلام كاذبا فهو كما قال، ومن ذبح نفسه بشيء ذبح به يوم القيامة. Imam Muslim rahimahullah, he reported it in this chapter, hadith al-Dhahak, hadith Thabit al-Dhahak, that Prophet ﷺ said, whoever swears deliberately and falsely that he belongs to a religion other than Islam is as he said. Like whoever actually deliberately says, I am not a Muslim if that thing didn't happen, or if that thing actually happened, he was swearing. So to emphasize his oath, he used this formula: I'm a truthful guys, and if I'm not a truthful, so I would be not Muslim. If he is a liar, he would be as he said. And if he is a truthful, he wouldn't be a good Muslim. He wouldn't be also a good Muslim. Even if he's a truthful, that's haram to be said. And then he said, and whoever kills himself with something, Allah will punish him with it in the fire of hell. Subhanallah. So those who, as we mentioned, those who commit suicide, they don't actually relieve themselves from the pain of the dunya or the difficulties or hardship of the dunya. Rather, they send themselves to the hellfire. And what actually problem can be worse than the hellfire? Subhanallah. So this is actually one thing we should share with, especially the youth who find the killing themselves the only harbor for them, the only shelter to relieve themselves. They go and kill themselves, subhanallah, thinking they're okay now. Hadith Shu'bah, he said in this narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever swears falsely that he belongs to a religion other than Islam is as he said. And whoever slaughters, whoever slaughters himself with something, he will be slaughtered with it on the day of judgment. So now we have two things here. He will be punished until the day of judgment, and he will be punished with the same thing on the day of judgment, on the same day. Okay. One more thing I want to actually say here. The one who kills himself, is he a Muslim or not? The one who kills himself, is he a Muslim?
He's a Muslim because he said La ilaha illallah.
Okay. He's a Muslim? He's a Muslim. Actually, it depends. Why did he kill himself? Killing oneself in of itself, it's not an act of disbelief. Right? But if he killed himself opposing the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal, he killed himself. Why? Because he is opposing the decree of Allah. He is not satisfied, he is not pleased with what Allah has done for him. Like he said, you know what? That's injustice. Astaghfirullah. Right? So now he would be a kafir not because he killed himself, but because of the reason behind killing himself. Right? Some people, they do that actually. They think, you know what? Life is not fair. life is not fair, and the God, astaghfirullah, he didn't treat him fairly, astaghfirullah, so let me just get rid of myself. And rather, some of them even they write manuscript or something before they kill themselves, right? They say, a note. This note, you know what? Oh yes, life was unfair, because subhanallah, our souls are not us. We don't own it. It's owned by Allah Azza wa Jal, right? So, but if someone kills himself because he was subhanallah suffering from a pain and he couldn't afford this, he couldn't actually bear this, he couldn't bear this pain, right? And it happened. One of the Sahaba, he did it. It's gonna come. One of the Sahaba, he did it, right? Subhanallah. He was subhanallah, in the battlefield, and he got injured, and he couldn't actually bear the pain. So he cut the vein in his hand until he, subhanallah, he kept on bleeding until he died. Then his friend saw him in Jannah, wearing white clothes, but he saw his hand.
Still bleeding.
Yeah, and there's a bandage, like something like, oh. So he asked him, what happened with you? Like, what did Allah do with you? He said, Allah has forgiven me because of my hijrah. He was from Muhajirin. I migrated from Mecca to Medina. Allah has forgiven my sin because of my hijrah. He said, what's wrong with your hand? He said, Allah said to me, we're not going to fix what you have actually, subhanallah, spoiled in your body. We're going to keep it as is. So he woke up and he went to the Prophet ﷺ. Say, Rasulullah, so and so, I saw him and he mentioned the dream. And then the Prophet said, Allahumma waliyadayhi faghfir. Oh Allah, also forgive his hands. Forgive his hands also, right? Like fix his hand. Oh Allah, fix his hand and forgive his hands. SubhanAllah. So this Sahabi, right? He killed himself, but not out of, SubhanAllah, displeasure or, opposing Allah's decree. No, he was feeling like so painful, but his heart was full of Iman, right? But if someone, so it's about now hearts, right? It's a major sin, even if it's done because of the pain. It's a major sin still, a major sin, right? And the punishment you have seen. But now the question is, would he be a disbeliever or not? This is a question. Even if he's not a disbeliever, it's not okay. It's still haram, big, major sin, right? So killing oneself is one of two things, can be one of two things. Either to be a kufr, a disbelief, if it's accompanied by something else like disbelieving words or thoughts about Allah Azza wa Jal, right? Or it would be a major sin, but still the man or the person would be a Muslim, but it's a major sin. He would be deserving to be punished. He would be what? He would be deserving to be punished in his grave. But eventually, if he didn't say anything kufr, Allah will forgive him eventually, and Allah might forgive him. So this is actually the point. So if somebody kills himself and they bring him to the masjid, would you pray janazah or not? This situation. If he was a Muslim and he didn't say kufr before he, subhanallah, killed himself, right? So he's a Muslim. He's a Muslim, subhanallah, right? Subhanallah. But for the scholars, they said don't pray on them. The scholars themselves, to make him a reminder. Yes, they ask you to pray on him, right? But for the scholars and those who are, subhanAllah, they said no. It's supposed to stay away from praying on them to make him a reminder for others, right? So then let scholars go and pray janazah on him. No, let anybody, khalas, any Muslim, khalas, pray janazah. You just go and pray janazah, right? So they pray on him or not? They pray on him, but not the scholars. They said don't let the scholars pray on him. Right? Why? Okay, the Prophet he also stay away from those people. The Prophet he didn't pray on the one who died while he was in debt. Like he used to borrow money from people, but he didn't pay it off, and he died. He a Muslim, of course, but because he wanted us to show them to something bad to do that, right? So he said, okay, you pray, guys, janazah. He didn't pray on him. Subhanallah, right? To let people think twice before borrowing money without need. Only if you just desperately need to borrow money. Otherwise, don't just take it easy and get money from this. Why do you get money from him? Why do you borrow money? I want to increase my business. Really? No, that's not right. Because you might die, right? And this debt wouldn't be forgiven, right? Subhanallah. Even if he was shaheed. So we ask Allah Azza to make it easy on us, and we ask Allah to forgive our sins and to make us die on Islam, on Iman, and make us die, as Allah Azza likes us to die. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullah khairan, subhanahu wa ta'ala, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Just a change. Alaikum salam. Alaikum salam.